Hi, people. I'm Dax.
And I'm Em.
And this is Full His House,
your Full House fan cast.
And today we are covering Season 1, Episode 18, Just One of the Guys. DJ feels left out when her cousin visits and spends most of his time roughhousing with Danny. And as our audience probably knows, this guest stars Kirk Cameron, who is Candace Cameron Bure's older brother. So they got to do a little brother-sister work on here, which was really, really cute. And if you would like some more fun facts about that, check out How Rude Tanneritos. But yeah, it was cool to see them. It was cool seeing them work together. Overall thoughts on the episode?
This was a weird one. I'm not going to, I had mixed thoughts on this, and I'm not, I feel like let's just go through it and we'll kind of break it down, because I don't know, I had mixed feelings on this one.
I kind of agree. I thought it was like a really interesting one too. And like, cause I know how I feel. I know how I've felt about it, like watching it casually growing up. Like it was just one of those early episodes, but trying to watch it more with an analytical eye, there were some things that I felt here and there were some things that I questioned and annoyed me. So, I think we'll hopefully by the end of the recording of this episode, we'll know how we feel about this episode.
I feel like talking it through might help me figure that out, because just like you said, I feel just like weird about some of the things in this episode. And it's hard to even really figure out what exactly I'm feeling. Just that I feel weird. I feel weird about some of the things in this episode.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So we start out in the kitchen. Joey and Jesse are getting Michelle ready for grandma, I think it is. And they are measuring her body. She's 18 all around. And Joey calls her a butterball, which I guess is kind of cute if you're referring to a baby. And he says that she has the exact same measurements as her father. And they start mooing to make the measurement portion of getting her ready fun.
Yeah, one of the moments where I was just kind of like mixed emotions, because I don't know. Does anybody else find it weird that we have a lot of jokes about Michelle's body as a baby? Because this is not the first one.
Yeah. And I think it's because it's like one of those things where it's trying to be adjacent to, chubby cheeks, or like, the cute Buddha belly type of thing. Like, how babies are chubby, but there's just like, it is a little bit weird. It's like a weird, like, not so much fat shaming because she is a baby, but like using fat shamey jokes on a baby. Therefore it's not offensive or weird.
But you see what I mean by it just feeling a little bit weird, right? It's like, I don't necessarily feel like offended by it. It's just like, I feel like I'm noticing it more. It's like they make a lot of just like body jokes about Michelle as a baby, which is just like really weird. But like you said, it kind of goes adjacent to like the, like chubby cheeks type of thing that you get a lot, especially as a kid. And like, I can relate to that. I have chubby cheeks, and I always had some kind of adult in my family, aunt, grandma, whoever, squeezing on my little chubby cheeks, and it always annoyed the crap out of me. But it's just, I don't know. It just, I feel like it's happening so often that I'm starting to notice it, and maybe that's why it feels a little bit weird.
It is off.
It like, you could tell that like none of the actors are saying it with any type of like, ill intent. Like it's meant to be playful. It's meant to be a joke. It's just, if I think maybe it's because I'm noticing it more, and I'm just kind of like, why are we making that the butt of the joke every time? You get me? Like, babies are adorable. Babies do dumb stuff all the time that we can joke about. I don't understand why we're, talking about, her measurements, or the fact that she's shaped like her dad, which is a really weird thing for any girl to hear at any age. Shaped like your dad is so weird. Like we had episodes where they were talking about her chubby little legs, and I'm just like, I get it. Again, cutesy. It's towards the baby. It's meant to be very playful. It's meant to be very endearing even. It's just weird. It's just weird.
Yeah, and that's understandable. It's not my favorite thing either, but like I can kind of see that like the show is trying to be harmless, but it's just it's like we can do better. We can do other things.
Exactly.
Yeah. So Kimmy comments, "Your dad lets these people take care of you," and DG responds, "It's hard to find good help." So
I mean,
Kimmy fair. I mean, family. Just that's why you just let the family move in. It's like, yeah, well, I mean, if I wanted to, I can hire a professional, but for right now, we have our uncles.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Professionals require money.
Before people who hear me say that jump down my throat, Joey's not an uncle. Yes, he is.
A chosen family is the same as blood family.
For real, if not more potent.
Right. The only difference is they may not be able to give you a kidney, but you may not need one later.
And sometimes not even so. So Kimmy asks DJ if she's coming to the church bake sale, but DJ is waiting for her cousin Steve to arrive. Steve is like DJ's big brother, and DJ's really excited to see him. Kimmy asks what he looks like, and DJ describes what Kimmy says is a geek burger with cheese, pimples, braces, the whole nine. So Stephanie walks in through the door, and she presents da-da-da-da twice, but nothing happens. And then she says, da-da-da-da means get in here. And finally, Kirk Cameron walks in, and the crowd goes berserko. Throughout my entire childhood, I had no idea who this individual was. I did not know that they were even brother and sister until I want to say maybe the most recent years. And that happens a lot with like, I think of people around my age group who are watching sitcoms where like people walk in and people start clapping. It's like, I know this show. I don't know who that is. But yeah, did you know who he was when you first saw him?
I recognized him, but I couldn't figure out where I recognized him from. I'm like, I feel like I've seen him in a TV show or something, and that's about it for me. When I saw him, I was like, obviously people are clapping because that's somebody that people recognize. I don't know him by name. I know I've seen him somewhere, just don't know where. And then as far as them being siblings, had no idea until you told me.
Yeah, it's I'm sure that there are people out there like, how could you not know? Sorry guys. But yeah, I think, his thing that he's mostly known for is Growing Pains. So,
that's why I did not watch that. So that's probably why I don't remember exactly where I saw him from. It's probably something I saw in passing.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, he is a celebrity. So he's one of those people, his face, but some people just won't know quite where from.
Exactly.
So obviously he's a very handsome young man, and DJ asks what happened, and he got contacts, he got his braces off and his face cleared up, and nature has been great. And Kimmy says the best and slams the door in Danny's face. Danny then presents the alcove to Steve because that's where he's going to be staying while he stays with us. Shouts
it's crazy
to the
how
alcove.
quickly it's just so crazy how Danny be like, all right, so like we don't have a guest room, but we got an alcove. It's like, just say I'm sleeping in the living room. That's what it is.
Yeah, it's
why are we saying it like it's a whole extra room somewhere with like 4 walls and privacy?
Just put them on the couch. You're staying on the couch. What the heck?
You're sleeping in the living room. There's a chance of sleeping. You can sleep under the stairs like Harry, or you can sleep on the couch. Pick one.
That would be awesome, under the stairs.
I mean, that's where the alcove is. It's literally right under the stairs. The stairs go right over it. It just doesn't have 4 walls and a door.
Jesse and Joey come in to meet Steve, and Steve gets them mixed up. He assumes that Joey is Jesse and Jesse is Joey, and Steve and Danny corrects him. And Joey thanks him in the moose voice. And he, while meeting Michelle, gives her a little coo, and she just puts on this "Are you serious?" face. It's a really cute moment. It's I like when
it was
when
one of the most authentic things we've seen in the show so far, to be completely honest. That wasn't planned or anything, but they're like, you know what, we're going with it because that looked really good.
DJ says she's got the whole weekend planned out, and she wants to start with going ice skating with Steve, but Steve wants to play basketball. And DJ is fine with that and she wants to go, but Danny suggests that she stay home and take care of the girls while the boys go out and play basketball. They start playing in the house and Joey throws the ball out the window. So I guess like in this moment, we're already kind of seeing indications that Steve's just a little bit not interested in hanging out with DJ, which kind of sucks.
Okay. As someone who grew up with a lot of older cousins, it shocked me more than anything that DJ expected him to. Yeah, I feel like if you ever grown up with like older cousins, you guys are friends until like the oldest one leaves elementary school. And then your world's apart at that point. You're into completely different things. Then by the time you get to middle school, they're on their way to high school. You guys aren't thinking about each other anymore. Like I was more surprised by the fact that she was like excited to a point where she's like, I got a list of things for us to do. That in itself just shocked me because I've never been in a situation where I had older cousins that were interested in hanging out with me because I was younger, especially with the age gap between the two of them, because it was like 4 or 5 years.
Yeah. So, and it's, and they mention it in the end of the episode, but he's 17 and she's 11. So what is that, like 6 years?
6 years.
Yeah.
Especially with a 6-year gap.
And the last time that they saw each other was 2 years ago. So he was 15 and she was 9. So even like that.
Yeah, so it was like, big cousin going to hang out with little cousin. But, okay, so I know that this is said like a little bit later because we find out that, Steve's dad left the house. But we also find out that DJ knows about that. When we find out about that later, I'm just as shocked by this part because of that. I'm like, you knew this, but yet your brain said he's coming through for me. So I'm going to get a list of things for us to do because we're not going to be at this house the whole week.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's a little bit weird that she had assumed that he would want to spend all of his time with her. Although exactly. I do think that he was a little bit more dismissive than he needed to be, at least with this initial interaction. So DJ makes lunch for the boys and is excited to have lunch with Steve and show him pictures from times gone past when they used to hang out. And Stephanie comes in with her special sandwiches and hides one because she's embarrassed about what she's actually put in it. The boys come in from the back door and just take all of the food and in the most manliest of ways and then go to watch the game. DJ tries to talk to Steve, but he's super into the game and broing out with all the bros. They are exclaiming yes as the game progresses, and she gives a really out of context yes because she has no idea what's going on, which Stephanie so nicely points out. And so this scene I thought was just like a little interesting. Like she's like, I guess
she's trying to feel included.
Yeah,
she's trying to feel included, and in this scene I can definitely understand it. Like because of the fact that she was excited to see a family member, she's like, I expected you to want to do something with me, so now I'm trying to do something with you despite not really understanding what it is. I see that she's trying to like reach out and create some kind of new connection because she realizes that all the things they bonded over beforehand aren't going to be a thing anymore because he's older now. I thought it was weird that nobody chose to include her, period. Like Danny, Jesse, Joey. You know what? I'm not going to say Joey because Joey don't always be paying attention like that. But at very least with like Danny knew and he saw immediately that like she was feeling some kind of way about it. And instead of talking to her or anything, he just chose to ignore it and focus on Steve because Steve needed him at that moment.
Yeah, it's the only person who really noticed. The only person who really noticed this was going on was like Stephanie, but like,
no. Okay, so like we definitely noticed that like at least later we find that like Danny does notice.
Well, Danny does not, but up at this point, the only person who like comments on it is Stephanie, because like nobody else is even addressing her.
I have a hard time believing that she didn't express that same excitement leading up to the day that he was getting there. So I have a hard time believing that Danny didn't know that she was excited to have her cousin come over and hang out. I also have a hard time believing that Danny didn't notice that she was being excluded the entire time, knowing that she was excited for him to come through there. Now, what
it's
I have
weird
noticed,
for him to be this dense about it.
You know, actually, it's not. Here's what I've noticed. And again, I love Danny. Danny is one of my favorite characters. But Danny has a tendency of ignoring one thing or multiple things to focus in on one single thing. He doesn't have the ability of dealing with, say, his two girls in a fight and the fact that he has to go to work. He chooses, I'm going to let that simmer. I'm going to focus on this instead. He doesn't have the ability of multitasking in that way, especially when it comes to dealing with different people and their feelings and how they might react to certain things. He chooses to overlook one thing to focus on what he feels is most important.
Yeah, and I think that totally makes sense. It's a weird habit of his, like to zero in so much, but it's interesting that kind of keeps coming up and that we're seeing it come up in real time. Yeah, and I agree. I think it is a little bit weird that nobody heard her speak about this up until today. So
exactly. And again, I know that it's it's not in the episode, so we're meant to assume, but it's just Danny pays so much attention to his girls. I have a hard time believing that he just didn't know that DJ was excited for this, that he just never heard her talking about it. Stephanie knew. So I have a hard time believing that nobody else knew that she was excited for him to be coming over. On a different note, can we also talk about how thirsty they made Kimmy in this episode?
Oh, yeah,
we need to talk about
she
that.
Had already kind of she has already kind of shown some interest, and it's a running gag with Kimmy a little bit that she is thirsty, but this is the first time we're really seeing it. But it's also just kind of like, this is a very young girl.
I know very well that when I was Kimmy's age, when I was, what they say she was 11 is how old they are, I wasn't thinking about boys. We have way more questions and we're not immediately thinking about boys. Now, I will say there are some girls who do get boy crazy really, really quickly. However, they usually go boy crazy over celebrities or something of that magnitude. Very rarely do you see a guy in person, especially a high school boy, and you're just like, oh, at 11 years old, that boy right there, I want to date him. That the whole thing felt really weird. I know it's innocent. It's probably just me also overthinking it a little bit. I have no idea. All I know is that it felt really weird to see this little girl's whole running gag through this episode just be being thirsty. And it felt like it wasn't even to flesh out Kimmy's character as being someone who's just boy crazy really early. If that was the case, I would be more accepting of it because then at least it feels like a character trait, right? It feels more like they're making her do this to prove the point that the cousin is hot. And that's it.
So Joey bets Jesse a very simple play will happen. Jesse says no. Obviously, Joey wins the $2. They rematch, and he predicts a very detailed play and nails it. And Jesse is outraged, gives him another $2. And Stephanie says, boy, Joey, you didn't know all this stuff when we watched this game this morning. And Jesse gets up, takes the tape out of the VCR and threatens Joey for his money back. And Joey says that he was going to give Stephanie half. And maybe he should have expressed that before, just assuming that she wouldn't sell him out.
You know what? I think this was a learning experience for both of them. I feel like going forward, we're probably going to start seeing episodes where she is a little bit sneakier like that. She'll know these things, but she'll come up to you afterward and be like, hey, give me half, or I'm telling so-and-so that you actually watched it yesterday. I see that coming out of her later just because she's slowly learning to be quiet until the right time. And right. DJ's already shown her, look, you got to play certain things to make it benefit you. That whole honeybee episode proved that. The way that she shut Stephanie down in order to get her dad to buy so many jars. Yeah, she's going to learn it really quick.
Yeah, these two are a little bit of a duo, and it's kind of cute.
Yeah.
So Steve volunteers to go and check on Michelle, And Danny sends DJ to check on them because that's not happening. He doesn't have any experiences with infants. And Danny thinks at all. And he's also 17. What the hell?
Why would you even say, yes, you can go do it? If anything, you'd be like, you can join me.
Yeah, no, that was funny. Like, he was just like, oh yeah, no, sure, go ahead and let me secretly send somebody up to check on you. Like, why not just tell him you do not know what you're doing? I'm sending someone with you. Like, don't protect his feelings so hard. Damn.
Exactly.
Danny thanks the boys for being nice to Steve, says that it's been really hard since his dad walked out and there hasn't been a lot of time for him to have guy stuff. And a really easy way for them to just drop that knowledge to kind of make it, to kind of put into perspective, like, oh, that's why Danny's so hard, like trying so hard to make sure he's having fun and doing all this guy stuff, even though these guys really don't even act like this. Or it's also to me, and I mean, I think they've already shown what quote unquote man stuff is. And I get it. I do understand that there are certain things that boys need to do with older men, certain experiences that they need to have with older men. Because there could be a lot gained from that, but obviously there's all types of, adults that you can spend time with. But just to have those testosterone outlet individual, I guess you can say, because I don't want to just say men or just say fathers either, like just, older people who have like that kind of similarity or that kind of alignment. I do understand that that's important. And I do understand that it's probably, I just don't want us to leave out maybe the possibility that this is also fun for Danny because he does not have any sons. So for him to continuously say, this is for Steve, this is for Steve, you know what, maybe it's also for you a little bit. You don't get to have this either. So it could be a little bit more of the both of you. I would have liked to see a moment where he also reflects on his approach to this situation. Yeah.
No, I completely agree with you on that. I think that if they would have made it feel a little bit more personal as well, and not just Danny being like, his dad just left, he needs some guy time, he doesn't get that anymore. Like, I get it. And Danny's always been a really sweet character. So it's like, I don't put it past Danny to like do that with just all the love in his heart and no ill intent and expecting nothing in return. You get me? Like Danny does that a lot. So I'm not at all surprised by that, but I do feel like he probably benefited from that time together as well, because like you said, he doesn't have a son. That's not something he's going to get. And now his wife is gone. So if he does have a son, it's going to be with a completely different woman in like years later. And he's not going to want kids by that point. He's already almost in his 30s, or he is in his 30s at this point. So yeah, it's just, okay. And then another thing, and I don't know if maybe I'm the only one who thought about this, and maybe it's just because of my family dynamic that I think about this kind of stuff on a consistent basis. But Danny's doing this for, I'm guessing, his sister, right? I'm guessing is how he's related, right? So because dad left, right? I'm assuming you're not going to say, his dad left if you were related to the man. So I'm assuming Danny has a sister.
Maybe it's Pam. Maybe it's a sibling of Pam, because later, like, Danny does have a sibling, but the one that we meet later on doesn't have a child. Sorry to use the time machine. So I'm thinking maybe this is someone that, but then wouldn't like.
But then Jesse would have to have
a relationship sister with it. Jesse would have another sister.
Exactly. And that doesn't make any sense because they've already stated that it was just him and his sister growing up with his mom.
Like, or it can be one of those things where you're family somehow, but we don't exactly know how. So you're cousin Steve.
Okay. So if that's the case, how come the mom, who he seems to be super close to, didn't swing through when Pam died? I'm going to come through and be help, like a father figure. Well, I mean, like, to do the exact same thing Danny's doing right now. The girls just lost their mom. They're surrounded by men, right? Mom is gone. You're surrounded by men. Now there's no feminine energy in the house other than within the kids. So if they're so close to where Danny's like, your cousin Steve lost his dad, so to do his mom a favor, I'm going to pull through and be a father figure for a little bit so that he doesn't feel that loss. How come she didn't do the same thing? How are they so close to where apparently it's one-sided? Because nobody came through to be, Pam's temporary replacement, or, to come through and kind of give that feminine energy in a household that was missing it for a while.
Maybe they just live. Well, where did Joey and Jesse live before? Were they already in San Francisco, or did they travel to do? Because I'm thinking, well, maybe that individual.
If I remember correctly, Joey lived in San Fran. Jesse traveled. He didn't live anywhere.
Right. He was a little bit more of a nomad in that.
Exactly.
Yeah. Apologies if that's a offensive term. Somebody please let me know.
I hope nomad's not. I feel like most people are jealous of that lifestyle. I would love to be able to pull that off. I just don't think I have the mindset or the willpower to.
I'm too scared. But yeah, any thoughts about this, guys? Like just the Tanner family tree. Maybe we can start, piecing it together, and because the thing is, it is, and the Gibbler family tree is also ridiculous. We already have heard that, she has 3 sisters from episode 1. We'll see how that whole thing ebbs and flows. But yeah, the family trees and continuity issues on this show are aplenty. And yeah, that's freaking crazy. Okay, so in Michelle's room, DJ and Steve are trying to change Michelle's diaper, but he's inexperienced, so DJ has him practice on the monkey. And DJ asks if Steve wants to go. Okay, this freaking scene drives me insane. DJ asks Steve if he wants to go ice skating tomorrow. And he says he can't because Danny is taking him to a Warriors game. Her response is, okay, well then we can go tomorrow. And since we'll be right by the mall, we could do all this other stuff at the mall. And then Steve says, well, he's going to be looking at colleges and he's going to be a little bit too old to do the stuff that she was suggesting, because she mentioned something about a boy-girl party and ice skating and the mall. And so, what? And then, but then it keeps going, because Danny comes in to get Steve to continue watching the game, and then he announces that the family will go play some touch football tomorrow. And then later also says that tomorrow after the Warriors game, he's going to introduce him to the team. So tomorrow, everything that could ever possibly happen will happen tomorrow. I don't know. It was just, did you catch any of this? Am I crazy?
No, you're not crazy. Cause look, I was thinking the exact same thing. I'm like, wait a second. Like, didn't he just say that like he couldn't do anything that day because he had to go to the Warriors game? Now you're saying before the Warriors game, we're going to play touch football and everybody's going to go shower, get dressed. We're going to go to the Warriors game and then we're going to immediately meet the team afterward. And then everybody will be pooped and we'll come home and you'll do like, it's just, okay. So again, I've already kind of like said that it was a little bit weird, at least in my personal opinion, that DJ expected him to hang out at all. Right. But it's a completely different thing to like hear her be like, so tomorrow, do you want to do this? And he's like, oh, I can't do that. I'm like, okay, well, what about this? Oh, well, I'm just a little too old to be doing that stuff now. No, that's not true. There's no such thing as being too old to do something unless there's like a state law or something that says you're literally too old to do something. Like, I feel like saying things like, I'm a little bit too old to be doing that, especially since what she was saying was like ice skating and like going to the mall. Let's not act like your 17-year-old is not taking a girl on a date there to do the exact same thing, to go ice skating, get some ice cream, and maybe, hang out at the mall and get some food or something. It's the exact same thing you would do on a date or with friends or something. You're not too old to ice skate. That makes literally no sense. When he goes off to college, if his friends are like, yo, you want to go ice skate? He's not going to say, oh, I'm too old for that now. What's he going to do? He's going to lace them up, chuck, and go.
Yeah, I really didn't love that either because I think like he was probably referring specifically to the boy girl party that she had mentioned, but like all the other stuff that she mentioned
And
is exactly what you said.
well,
It's
pick and
not,
choose what you want to do. She's throwing ideas out there,
she
trying to
is like,
get
let go to
anything.
one
She
thing.
just like, yeah,
Yeah.
she's like, do anything with me. Like, he could have said, you know what? Not those things. I feel like I'm too old for those, or I wouldn't personally enjoy them. But do you want to go see a movie? Or after the game tomorrow, do you want to go get some food? Like anything. She is like at this point in this scene, she is begging for you to hang out with her. She is crying out for you to just give her a bit of time, any of your time, even a little bit of it. You could spend 30 minutes to go get some ice cream and then go on about your day, and she would have been happy that you just spent any time with her, period.
Yeah, he was very dismissive and like not really, and I get it, 17-year-old
Extremely.
boy, but just a little bit, it was just a little too dismissive.
Nah, here's the thing though, right? Is like usually, especially with teenagers, you get either like dismissive or like empathetic, right? You don't really get that empathetic, dismissive response like that. Where it's like you could tell by the way he was delivering it. He knew it was going to hurt her feelings.
DJ is sitting with Michelle and she says, now that Steve is a big jock, he doesn't care about her anymore. And she says, guess you're just nothing around here unless you're one of the guys, which is like a weird, I feel like a lot of women have felt this.
Oh yeah, in multiple
in one
places over
way.
multiple times in their life. I promise you that.
Yeah, I did have like I grew up with a lot of adults, but the children or yeah, the younger people or the children that were around were a lot of males. So there is a little bit of that like, you're younger and you're a girl. It's a lot harder to like just even pretend like you're on the same level with them, but then you have to get on the same level with them. Like I you know I had to get good at Smash Bros and shit. You know what I mean? Like it's just it's you
No,
do
like
have to fit in.
Yeah,
like
you start doing certain things and trying to pick up certain hobbies and stuff in order to fit in with the people that you want to be able to hang out with.
But then like it just reinforces, at least for my idea, like, oh well then none of this stuff has anything to do with like being a boy or a girl, obviously, because I could do it and I could do it just as good as these older guys. And now here we are, older. I could probably like these individuals who I'm referring to, I challenge y'all. I wanted to pick on me when I was a kid, 1v1 me bro now. Like, let's just go.
No, I get what you're saying, because at that point it's like you're picking up hobbies and habits and stuff because you think it's going to make you fit in more with a certain group. And in this case, they're like they're placing a gender around an activity that realistically shouldn't be.
Yeah, it doesn't even really have to be that way.
Like it's genderless. That's the whole point. It's like saying, oh, if you do pottery, you have to be a female. No, that makes no sense. I've seen a lot of males that do pottery that do beautiful pieces. They're amazing artists. And it's the same thing vice versa. But to take a hobby and be like, oh, football's for guys, or, going to sports games for guys. I know a lot of women who know more about sports than most men. I know a lot of women who are fantastic at sports. I
watch
athletic.
Red Zone every freaking Sunday. Okay.
Like to put a gender around something is crazy. Like I get like if you're doing it competitively, right? Like if you were to go and do like a professional NFL or something, I understand having those be like, a female team and like a men's team. But to say that those two teams also can't be like, I guess, compared in any type of way because, well, one's a dude and one are females. Like I feel like women do just as much damage as men, although they have the, what's it called? The physical physique to get the immediate kind of like hands up or heads up or whatever, like to be able to get on that next level immediately just because they have that muscle mass. So they're going to excel when it comes to certain things, obviously, but that does not mean that a woman can't also do it and also couldn't do it alongside you. And so having that kind of stereotype of like, oh, this is just guys' time, we're going to do guys' stuff. I feel like, yeah, I'm just kind of like, okay, so then what's girl stuff? If I said I want to have a girls' day, does that mean you're taking me to a spa and get a mani-pedi? Because that's sexist. Like, what? What if I wanted to go see a sports game? Like, I'm a big fan of going to see like football games, specifically live football games. I love being in the actual stadium. You don't have to know anything about a game when you're in the stadium, because the event in itself, you're feeding off the energy around you. It's fun. It's a lot of fun, especially when you're with the right group of people. That's not a male activity. That's a person activity.
And the freaking Jabberwockies came out at halftime. Like, stuff like that.
Oh my God, I would have gone crazy. Anybody who was around for America's Best Dance Crew who actually saw the Jabberwockies like rise to fame through there, yo, shout out. But we're old now.
When did that happen? So DJ, Jesse, and Joey are in the living room, and DJ is thanking them for helping her prep for football tomorrow. Jesse teaches her how to say football, and I guess that's how you say football.
I guess you have to say it a specific way. I didn't realize that.
Yeah, I wasn't CC'd on that. Jesse and Joey do the intensity stare thing and break. It's really funny. It's a great little moment. And they do a silly little play in the middle of a living room. Joey comes in with a sandwich, catches the ball, and spikes the sandwich. It's a really great moment. And they do this weird little shimmy thing. I think Pee Wee Herman does it at some point or something, but like, and DJ participates, and she was like, how do you guys know all this? And I think Jesse says, all men are born knowing how to play football. So
yeah, no. I've met too many men who are not athletic to say something like that could be even remotely true.
Yeah, I feel like, like, really, guys? Sure, whatever. So the family is at the park with a guitar, and Jesse's on guitar, Michelle is on harmonica, and DJ just starts spatting out basketball facts, which, real quick, can we just say how it actually is kind of impressive that she memorized all of these things in an era where Google wasn't quite a thing yet? Where could she did she go to the store and get some magazines? Did she overhear something? Like, how does she gain this amount of like knowledge overnight? Like, even though it is just regurgitation of these facts, where did she find these facts?
Honestly, from what I can tell, Danny likes to record his broadcasts, and he is a news anchor, like a sports anchor. So she might have just learned it by looking back at some of his old stuff, or even just watching some of the old games that they had. But realistically, I could see her getting it just from looking back at some of Danny's old broadcasts, because he is a sports caster. So he would be the one dropping those facts throughout the game at one point.
Yeah, that, or she could have popped on the TV the night before, that too. Yeah, I forgot about the TV. They start playing the game, and Kimmy ends up on Steve's team, and she freaking spanks him, which I just, no, okay? Stephanie and Joey are the last two to be picked, and Stephanie says, can you believe they picked Michelle over me? And Joey says, Steph, I've got my own problems. And the game starts. DJ makes a touchdown, and Kimmy spanks Steve again. It's so weird. And then yeah. It's assault.
Again, I'm not like the way they're using Kimmy's character, and I'm saying that literally, because at this point, she's just a plot device. She's just a prop that's being used to emphasize how hot Steve is supposed to be. Like, yeah, because, at this point, I'm not sure exactly. Like, at this point, I'm really not sure if that was like a writer's choice, or if Steve, like, as an actor, came in and said, yo, make sure people know my character is hot like fire. I need someone out there smacking ass and telling me, yo, that my dude. Like, it's just, I don't know how this decision came about, but I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Her whole character at this point is really she's just a prop. A prop with dialogue from time to time.
So they're playing around, and then Steve announced, all right, girls, you've had your fun, so now the men have to play a real game. And DJ objects. She's like, no, why don't you just keep playing with us. What are you scared? La, la, la. And, so the family keeps playing together. And during one of the games that they're playing, DJ tackles Steve, and apparently it's completely out of line. And DJ gets upset and suggests that Danny just adopt Steve, and starts crying, and she's embarrassed because she feels like she's crying like a little girl. So Danny goes after her and asks what's going on specifically with the whole adoption comment. And DJ expresses her frustration over the past few days. Like, used to be her friend and now he's not. And she's just frustrated. And Danny says that it's important for Steve to have some guy time because his dad walks out, and DJ already knows this. And she says that she wants to hang out with him too and doesn't understand what happened. And Danny says that he's grown a lot in the past 2 years and he understands that she's having a hard time, but that's no reason to clean his clock. Has anybody ever heard that phrase before, and what does it mean?
I have never heard that phrase before. I have no idea. I'm assuming it means to nag or to get on somebody about something.
But I've just never heard it.
I've never heard it either. Never before. Yeah, no, never heard that saying before. It must be a white people thing. I have no idea, because I've never heard that before. I've heard a lot of other things, but never clean his clock. That feels like a favor.
It could be like an old timey thing, like, I'm gonna clean your clock. See, like, I don't know.
No, I get you. Kind of like when they used Jack as like an insult. Listen here, Jack. Like.
So she says fine. She'll take the girls home and play Duck Duck Goose. DJ's in her room, and Steve comes in and asks to speak to DJ. And then she says, "Oh, you want to talk to little old me?" And he points out the fact that this is the first time he's been in her room since he's been there. And she says, yeah, the old Steve would never have, taken this long. And he asks why she tackled him. And she says because she felt like it. And admits that it was because she was mad at him. She was looking forward to spending time with him, and he didn't even want to go ice skating. Again, with the ice skating. And she wishes the old Steve was still here. He says that he's still that guy, and it's just that, he's still her cousin, he still loves her, and he's there now. And he says that the difference just feels a little bit heavy now because he's 17 and she's 11, but it won't matter later on in life. She's happy with this. They decide to start over and finally agree to go ice skating. And that's the end of the show.
Yeah.
They just have
I have a hard
they just
time
have
believing
one conversation.
Here's my thing, right? It's like we went through the whole episode. She got to a point where she literally was just outright like, do you want to do this? Do you want to do this? What about this and this? What about this? What about this? Like, she came out with a list of things that you guys could possibly do. You turned her down, again, delivering it in a way that told us you knew you were hurting her feelings. Well, I just, maybe not this time because I have this and I have, like, you were being considerate of her feelings. So you knew that you were letting her down. You're telling me with everything that's happened and with just that piece in itself, you couldn't fathom the reason why she might be upset? Not even a little bit? I feel like I would have liked to see him come in and be like, are you like mad at me because we couldn't hang out while I was here? Because we've already had that conversation. He knew that that's what she wanted from him. So why are we acting like we don't know what she wants? It's just, DJ has said exactly what she wants at least 2 or 3 times through this episode. And nobody has heard her until this moment.
Yeah, no, it's weird that he wants to just like, yeah, no, it doesn't really make any sense. She's been vocal.
Now that you've, hit me, now that you've made it a physical thing, I understand that you're hurting. You just had to put your hands on me. So what do you need from me? Let's fix it now. That doesn't make any sense to me. Why do I have to get to a point where I physically tackle you for you to then be like, okay, why are you mad at me? We just this whole week I've been trying to get you to hang out with me. I got to a point where I literally asked you, gave you a list of things that we could do together, and you said no because you were too busy. Now all of a sudden you can fit me into your tight schedule because I tackled you? That's crazy. abuse shouldn't work that quickly.
It doesn't make any sense. For me, I'm just kind of like, I understand what she wanted. I understand that he wasn't interested in it. And I do wish that they could have had a little bit more of a genuine conversation about it.
Yeah, because there's nothing wrong with wanting different things. There's also nothing wrong with growing apart. There's nothing wrong with, not wanting to hang out with your baby cousin. Their choices, there's nothing wrong with any of that. I just feel like the way they went about it, they made him seem like a dumb jock who cared about nobody else and couldn't see past himself until he was literally tackled by the problem. And then women whose voices just go unheard, even as children. It's just like that in itself just kind of hit home for me heavily, because I feel like if anybody, you can relate to this as well, is just like the idea of being a child and saying something, or constantly saying how you're feeling or what you need, and having that be completely ignored, to only then later on, when things have gotten to an extreme, they're like, okay, tell me what's going on. Right. We haven't had this conversation 12 times beforehand.
It is a little bit like, no, I totally understand, because it is one of those things where you feel like your voice is small. Nobody's listening to you. You're being vocal, and then you react like how everybody else is treating you. And then all of a sudden it's, oh my God. And it's like, well, no, like,
exactly.
I've been pushed to a point, this is not, and that's the other thing too. Like, obviously DJ isn't somebody who tackles someone. And sometimes we aren't the people we are when we are pushed to that limit, but it's also not cool to like push someone to that limit and then act like, well, what did I even do wrong? I'll tell you what it is that you do wrong. I told you what you did wrong.
She was extremely, she was very vocal about it. She was very, very specific about what she wanted and what she needed from him. And he turned her down, and she was just like, I just thought we would spend some time together. We already had this conversation, but now that I've tackled you, you're listening. That's crazy.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd. And I wish that Danny was a little bit more understanding of her perspective, even though he was, I don't know. I just kind of feel like there were a lot of,
it feels like a double standard, because again, he's like, oh, Steve's dad left. He needs a father figure now. Okay,
but
fair
her
enough.
needs do not get put on hold just because
your daughter's
a cousin comes
mom
in.
died. They need a mother figure as well. How come nobody's pulled through for that? Let's just be completely honest. His dad left. His dad isn't dead. He can go and see his dad at any point. He just no longer lives in the same house. We're acting like, unless his dad went out to go get milk and just disappeared at that point, it doesn't seem like that's the case. It seems like they literally had a split. So you can see your dad whenever you want to. You didn't lose a dad. He's just no longer living in your house. Your kids lost a mom, but we're putting more emphasis. Well, he lost his dad. Now he needs a dad figure. So let's give him 3. It feels like they're making his need for a dad more important than their need for a mom. But then they're also playing against each other by trying to make DJ feel bad for wanting to hang out with her cousin, but then make DJ look like the bad guy for not being understanding of the fact that he lost his dad and now needs a father figure, like it's any less important than what she requires.
You know what? Yeah, that is very frustrating, and it doesn't make any sense. And it goes back to the other thing that you said, that he can't pay attention to 2 things at once. Like he hasn't been able to understand that 2 things can still be true at once. DJ can still need all of the support that she usually has. And the other thing too is she's in a very fragile state. Any change is feeling very crazy right now. So the fact that this individual who was there for her is no longer there for her the same way feels like another loss.
It is a massive change, especially for DJ. DJ is the oldest, so she's the one who's really going through a massive amount of that change. Stephanie is young enough to really have her life kind of starting to even out. So anything that happens there, it's going to feel new because all of it is new. She doesn't have anything familiar to pull back to. DJ does. So it's just like, for nobody to understand the fact that she's feeling her own kind of loss, because now she lost a family member who was also a friend, who's no longer a friend because of their age difference. She lost somebody else, just not in the same way. She lost her cousin the same way that her cousin lost his dad. Like, you're there, but we're not going to spend any time together anymore.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. They could have done a lot more with this. I think that I think that there's a lot to be said about some of the conversations about genders and interests and stuff like that. I think that we could have blossomed this silly word, but like maybe we could have developed this into, you know what, like I can be interested in football and I can be interested in the things that you're interested in. You just have to include me in these things. And it just kind of feels more like you're just too old for me, not for my interests. There's no, and that's the other thing too. A lot of great things can happen when that older kid, that older cousin, sibling, whatever. It is great when you're able to open up a little bit of your own life to the younger kid, because that there could be a bond to be given there. And I did have a little bit of that. I had a relative who was a little older than me, and there were experiences that I had. It's older teenager stuff, but it still feels super cool. Yeah, but I also understand that older siblings don't always want their styles to be cramped down by the younger kids, but then find things that you can just do together. I'm not saying always I don't know, like there could have been a little bit more of a conversation about how they can use this age difference or how they can still hang out together even though they're older. But I don't know, maybe like it was a little bit of a weird one. There was a lot of topics, but we didn't, somehow I feel like we didn't quite resolve things.
Yeah, I agree with that. We had, there's a lot that happened in this episode, and as we kind of went through it, obviously I had multiple issues with a couple of things. But it's just, this episode had a lot of problems in itself. I feel like they were trying to tackle a plot line that maybe would have required more time to tackle properly. I feel like this episode would have probably been more spot on and would have felt a little bit cleaner had it been like an hour-long episode instead of 30 minutes. This just feels like one of those situations where they had an idea for an episode and they tried their best to fit it into the timeline and it didn't really fit, so they started chopping things off until we got what we got.
Yeah, something about it didn't feel quite finished or off. So interesting.
Yeah.
So do we have a not in my house moment?
I'm personally going to have to go with just that smack on the ass that Kimmy gave Steve.
Yeah, somebody should have been like, hey, you shouldn't do that to people that you don't know.
Yeah.
Or at all.
Realistically, like, no, it's weird. It's weird. And mainly because of the age gap and because of just how old she is. The whole thing is just really, really weird. Yeah. I think, oh, you know what? The not in my house would also probably be sending a 17-year-old kid with zero child experience up to change a diaper by himself. That's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, even though he did like have DJ involved, like at least tell him like, no, you like, I would be like, all right, no, you don't know what you're doing. A baby's very serious. Like that's
no is not a bad word. It's also not negative. It just means what it means. It means you can't do it. But we're treating Steve like he's fragile because his dad left, I guess. Like I don't know. I feel like there's a massive difference between like having your parents separate and having to just, maybe go to different places to see them versus like losing a parent. And they're making this seem like it's meant to be like this crazy, devastating thing. And maybe it's because I grew up without a dad, but it doesn't feel like a crazy, devastating thing. It just feels like it is what it is. My parents don't like each other anymore. And now I have to go to 2 different houses every year.
I think I will say that while there is a possibility that it sounds like the dad left and like has no interest in continuing to be involved, even if it was that serious, I agree. It's not as it's hard because it's still loss and it's still a young person and it's still traumatic. I don't want like
it's not as devastating, I would say. Like obviously loss is loss and you can't like really compare loss like that, but I feel like the devastation that you feel from, oh, we're getting a divorce versus, oh, your dad died is like completely different. You get me? Like, yes, loss is loss, but on one end, the loss is a bit more devastating because it's permanent in all senses of the word. You can't try and rekindle things later. There is no later. There's a period at the end. End of sentence, end of page, end of chapter, done.
Yeah. It is a little bit, I feel like I understand that people don't like the idea that you shouldn't compare traumas and stuff like that, but I do think it's unfair to have DJ at 11 try to empathize with what Steve is going through after she is still within the first year of dealing with what she is going through. I understand that it's valuable. It's a valuable lesson for her to learn that things happen and you have to still hold space for others even when you're going through something. But I think that that's something that maybe, an 11-year-old may not be able to wrap their head around.
You know what?
Yet.
I think that would have been a way better episode than what we just got. If we had Steve come over, Steve just lost his dad in the sense of like divorce or whatever. And DJ's dealing with the fact that everybody's feeling so sorry for him, but like her mom died and she didn't get nearly this much attention. Instead, her dad had to go to work. She was stuck with two people who she's still starting to get to know, and she lost her whole bedroom. You get me? Like, she's dealing with a lot of loss in a lot of different ways. And I feel like it would have been a more compelling story, and would have been also more true to DJ's character to get a little bit selfish in that sense and not be able to understand why someone else's trauma, while it may not seem the same to you, still can feel the same to the other party. You get me? I feel like that would have been a way more compelling episode than what we just watched.
Yeah. No, I agree. Like, again, it just wasn't quite there.
Yeah.
Our get the violins moment.
Do we have one?
I guess it would be the conversation that... Yeah, it's like, I don't really feel too much for the men, but I guess it could be the conversation that Danny and DJ had and the conversation that Steve and DJ had. But
no,
if we're talking about the message of the episode, I'm not sure what it is. I guess what I gather from the episode is it's important to listen to the women who are speaking to you. And I think that it's important to, maybe just that. I don't know that I'm really trying here, but yeah, there's not a lot of, I get what they were going for, but I can't even put into words what the message is supposed to be or what they're intending it to be, because it's just a little convoluted.
I feel like the lesson is meant to be about, like, growing up and sometimes growing apart. I think that's what they were trying to go with. It didn't land the way they wanted it to, because I feel like they focused in on certain aspects that they didn't fully understand as writers. Like, how sometimes you'll read something and you'd be like, I don't think the writer actually ever went through this, because it feels weird. It feels uncanny, almost like it's not real, but it's real type of thing. Like in reality TV, you'll see something and you'll be like, oh, you can't write this. But if somebody did, you would think it was fake. You have to see it to believe it type of thing. Like it kind of feels like one of those moments. This was just a really, really weird episode. I didn't like this episode. I didn't like this episode at all. It just, I feel like they had an idea. It felt like the writers didn't quite hit it on the nose like they thought that they were going to. I don't really know what the message is. I'm trying to grasp it, but at the end of the day, it just felt like people were trying to say that losing your father is more, I guess, traumatic than growing apart or something. Honestly, I don't know. I don't know. They focused in a lot on Steve losing his dad and his need for like a male influence in his life of some sort. But then we're also talking about how he's 17 and he's about to go off to college. So realistically, he's going to have no male influence for like a year. And then he's going off to college where he's going to be surrounded by other dudes. So this episode felt really weird. It felt like I feel like we keep getting this theme of like gaslighting. And I feel like once again, DJ was kind of like gaslit into downplaying how she felt because Steve is going through something that's a massive change in his life. They're like, look, we get that you're feeling sad and you want to spend time with your cousin, but he's going through this. So simmer down and stop giving him a hard time.
Yeah. There was a little bit of silencing going on there.
And unfortunately, that's literally what Danny did. The way he phrased it was, why are you cleaning his clock? You're literally saying, hey, he just lost his dad. His dad just left them and he's about to go off to college. He needs some guy time. Stop nagging him. That's literally what Danny said. And that kind of is disappointing to me. I can't say I have a get the violence moment. I don't. This whole episode annoyed me.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. And I mean, do we have a dad like Danny moment then?
Unfortunately, no.
Unfortunately not. And I think that's okay.
You know what? No. I'm not going to do Danny like that. This episode really, really irritated me. And so it's just while Danny wasn't being a dad to his own children at that moment, he was trying to be a dad to another person who was in need because they had just technically lost their dad. So I guess in that sense, like Danny came through for somebody else, which is always obviously a good thing. I can give that to him. That's all I got.
Yeah, you know what? The attempt was there, and he did what he could when he could.
Exactly. Yeah. You're not going to always make the right decisions, and not everybody's going to agree with them. But he did what he felt was right in that moment. He was trying to help somebody who he felt he could actually help. I understand that, so I will give him credit for that.
Yeah. No, I can. Yeah, we can. I agree with that. I like that. Yeah, this was a very complicated episode.
It was.
But, a lot of conversations can be started with this episode. But unfortunately, it.
Depending on what you say to it, a lot of conversations could be ended with this episode too.
Oh, God. Yeah. But anything else before we wrap it up?
I'll just say that my full stop moment is just Kimmy. Just Kimmy this whole episode. Full stop.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah,
she's better than that. And she will get better than that. So
I hope the writers don't continue to use her like a plot device because it's just weird.
Yeah, she definitely comes into her own. She becomes like one of the greater parts of the show, at least in my opinion.
I'm excited to see that because the way that they did her in this episode, the way they did this whole episode, I'm not a fan of it. I have so many problems with this episode. Thanks so much for listening, everyone.
Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, all the things, and stay tuned for the next episode. Until then, this is Dax.
And Em, reminding you
to lock your doors. I wanted to have one relevant to the episode, but I couldn't. Thanks, everyone.
The week got away from me. Was it Monday yesterday? I swear it was.